concerns one thing again, and that is the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, currently held by Ric Flair. But each week, Lex Luger keeps nibbling away at the base of Ric Flair. And you know, in other great confrontations in sports over the years, and you think of the Army-Navy game, you can think of Notre Dame and UCLA and many of the others, they only play once a year. But in this case, in professional wrestling, Lex Luger is meeting Ric Flair time after time after time. And I can only feel at this point in time that Lex Luger is growing closer and closer and closer to that title. But I certainly have to congratulate the tenacity, the spirit, and the determination of the NWA World Heavyweight Champion Ric Flair, because he is indeed a legend in his own time. He was the wrestler of the 80s. He could well be the wrestler of the 90s. Now, let's take a look at Sting for a moment. He's making a remarkable recovery. He's up and riding on a stationary bicycle at this time. And by the way, tomorrow evening on World Championship Wrestling, Jim Ross will have a special feature on Sting and his therapy and rehabilitation. Now, Mean Mark Callis has returned from Japan. We understand that he has a new hold. I hope to have more information on that, but he left Japan rated #1 of the top 10 in Japan at the time. And then let's talk about Norman and his black box. What's in it? A lot of people are imagining that it's an inanimate object. I can't believe that, but we will be finding out this week what is in the black box that Norman calls his ally. Now, Capital Combat, that'll be our next pay-per-view. That's coming up on Saturday, May 19th from Washington, D.C. at the D.C. Armory. It's going to be a great night of wrestling competition. We certainly invite you to make your reservations early on your cable stations to see Capital Combat. That'll be Saturday night. That'll be May 19th in Washington, D.C. And finally, a personal note, if you please, about Ole Anderson. Just what kind of a man is he? Here's a man who has told Sting now, put him on notice, if you will, that if he appears at any NWA events, that he, Ole Anderson, and the Horsemen will take care of him. A man with a sick mentality, in my opinion. That's the Wrestling News Network for this week. Join us again next week at the same time.